go through things to look for if you're not getting the route you want, how to edit routes, as well as the different trip entries. So yes, if there's any questions you have, you can put them in the chat as well as raise your hand. We can try to address questions as we go. And then, of course, at the end of the call, we will address questions there as well. I did pre-stage some permits, so I just have to click through everything. Then you don't have to wait on me to enter information. So for this first load, it is a bit of a wide load. It's a 12-foot width. I just chose the trip entry here as Round Mountain Mine. There is an option to enter address, intersection, lat long, border crossing, military base, and mine. Each of these do have a drop down, so you can easily see if there's something in here, a mine that should be in here and is not. You can just let the state know, let Angie know, and she will get it over to us to have it added. So for this one, I'm going to US 95 on McDermott, in McDermott on the Oregon border. And you'll see I get a route failure. Well, when I get a route failure, that means there's something on this page that is not allowing the route to work. Typically, you can zoom into your locations, and I know why I did it. My mine is empty. So when I was showing you guys the different options, it cleared it. So I'll put this back in here, click route. And now I have my route line. So for this example, because it's wide, it's automatically taking me up the road here, but I don't want to go this way. So I'm just going to click on the blue line. This is going to drop a via point. These blue via points, you can drag to change your route and then get something different. So if you have a preferred route that you're going or you know you like to travel on, you can just move these via points around. Okay, for this next one, I'm going from US 93 on the Idaho border to 1623 Lamoille Canyon Road. Going to click route because this is what I want to do.
Yes.
Okay. So again, I have a route failure. So I need to look at the map and see why it's given me a route failure. And I can see right here at the O, there's a red line. So this means there's a restriction of some kind. There is a radio button here. If you click get restriction information for road and click on that red line, it will tell you what's going on. So at this point, there's a 15-foot width coming in at the border, and it is an alert. So you'll find this on 511. Since it is a construction alert, there's no way to go around it, and you will have to change your origin. So at this point, I can see this road is red as well. It's not going to be a good entry point for me. If I'm coming down from Idaho here, I'm going to have to find some other way to come in. All right, so I'm going to change my origin for the purpose of showing this address. This is one that we see happen. It's P and H Drive with the and sign. If you click route, it's going to tell you that it's not found. And the reason this address is not found is because the ampersand needs to be typed out and, A-N-D. So if you type P and H Drive, You'll then see that the address populates and you will get your blue route line. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're putting in addresses. If there is an ampersand in the address title, that you need to type out the word "and." All right, so this next permit, I'm starting on Richmar and I'm going to US 93 and Jackpot. The reason I chose this is because we do have several locals that would rather use city streets going through Las Vegas. So in order to see your line, keep in mind the blue line that's given to you is a suggested route. It's going to be the route that is most preferred, that has the least amount of restrictions, and that allows your um, permit to be able to travel without additional input. However, if you want to change your route from what is the default, you just add your via and you pull it to the roads that you want to travel. You are allowed to add multiple vias. Something you want to keep an eye on is the side of the road that your via point is on. So the system's going to try its best to get to that location and then go back to the green highlighted roads. Those are considered on system. So the system is going to prefer to stay on these green roads. If you see it doing something like this, you can just zoom in and pull your via point over to the right side of the road, and you'll see that line straighten out. Say I want to go this way. I just continue putting my points in here until it is the route that I want to go. Okay. And if I decide I don't want to go on this road, I'm just going to double click on the balloon and it will remove that point, whichever point I click on. As long as I double click there, it will remove it. I can also come up here, click remove under the via points option, and it will remove that balloon as well. Okay, this one is a 16-foot height, so it's a little bit tall. Okay, I'm going to change this because I want to display what an option is as far as addresses not populating. So the P&H drive, we already know that the ampersand has to be typed out as the word "and." For this one, it's not found as well. If you know that there's an actual location here, you can pull this up in Google. And you can say, okay, well, this is where I need to go. But in Google, we don't have an actual company pinpoint. So at this location, there's not an actual company address in which you can take the latitude, longitude from Google in this instance. You can choose the latitude, longitude option here. A simple copy and paste. When you paste, the first time you do this, you will have a pop-up come up in the top of your screen that says allow the clipboard to paste, and you do want to allow that. When you do, it will split your latitude and longitude into the two boxes to be able to route. Okay, so at this point, you do have your destination. Go into this location. Okay, another thing is because this is a tall load, we are going off system here to get around a restriction. If you don't know what that restriction is, you're not familiar with it, you can come through and click on the red line. And you'll see here we have a 15-foot, 9-inch bridge that you're obviously can't go under because you're 16 foot tall. But you say, okay, I don't want to take this detour. I'd rather come up here on Sparks Boulevard. At that point, you just add your balloon, drag it to the area you want to go, and it will change your route line. Okay, for this example, we're a little bit over length. Going to come in on the Utah border on State Route 319. And we're going to go to Google RS or USRNO in Sparks. So there's a couple different things with this address as well that I want to point out. For this one, we did use the company name, which anybody that delivers here knows that this company name is also the same as 7400 USA Parkway. By using the actual company name in here, it brings your route directly to the pin that Google has placed here. If you change it and decide that you want to do the address, you can see that it does bring you down and around this way. However, if you decide, I don't want to route through Finley, I'm going to go ahead and come down to US 50 and over, because of the point that Google Maps puts 7400 USA Parkway, it's bringing your location down here. At which point, most of you are not going to want to go up and do a U-turn. You know that that's really not feasible. So you know that you can just pull this up to get your turn to go right directly in there, or you can use the Google USRNO name, in which it will be placed on your permit. Okay. Another thing I want to display here is as you're coming in on State Route 319, if you do not want to go north, you can add a via point. You can pull it down so that you come straight across and then up to your destination. So again, this route here is the system defaulted generated route. It is not necessarily the route you have to take. You can always change your route to go on the roads that you prefer. Okay, so because I did change the route, I added via points in there, I drugged the route, I moved my pinpoint, I made a bunch of changes in there. So when I click save and exit, it's telling me, do you want to keep the route that I had before, or do you want to rerun your trip with the newly created route? So for this one, I'll go ahead and rerun. At this point, it's going to reroute it for me, and then it's just going to give me my route that the, the final route that I had chosen in there. Okay, so this next one, I am under height for it, 12 foot wide, a little bit over legal length. Okay, so you can see I'm coming in. It's giving me my route. Okay, for this one, instead of going around Vegas, I want to stay on US 11 or Interstate 11. So I just move my points and it will bring me up. Okay, I'm up here through Reno. You can see there's red on the map where our line is, but it's not actually affecting the direction that we're going. So it is not stopping your route. Now what I'm going to do, because I changed this route down in Vegas to go on Interstate 11, just to be able to display what happens within the system if you violate restrictions. Um, let's see here. This one. Okay. So right now it is allowing me to travel on I-11. If you were to come in here and your permit application, you're 17 tall, we'll go 17.6 just because it's already in there. If you're a 17 tall route and you have your route going on in here, it's going to tell you first off, you changed your dimensions, so you absolutely have to reroute because anything that is being violated now needs to be populated within the routing map. Um, and that's if you change any kind of your dimensions, say you did your axis spacings wrong, then you'll have to go back and change them. And when you get back to the routing page, you will be required to reroute. You cannot click next to proceed past the routing page until you click this route button again. Okay. So as you can see at 17.6, it brought up a lot more red for me. Um, at this point, it's no longer staying on the interstate. It is routing off and back on to avoid these red restrictions. Um, and that's because you're violating these heights. So the system is not going to let you go under a bridge that you're too tall for. Um, and anywhere there's red, that means it's a restriction. So I'm trying to find, here's a good one. Where there's a lot of red on the map that you would think I should be able to go there. You click on it and it says, oh, no, it's a 16.9 height. I cannot go on this road. So it's going to route you around it.
I just want to add something real quick too. On the bridge heights that you're seeing when you click on that restriction, that's minus the 3 inches. So whatever bridge height that you're seeing on there is what you're allowed to be. We won't be minusing or adding 3 inches anymore because we've already done that when we put the bridge heights into the system. So what height it shows is what you're allowed to travel up to. Um, so I just kind of wanted to add that and let everybody know that whatever you're seeing is the true height of what you're allowed to run to.
So anything over this, if you're 16.4, you will be allowed to go under it, but if you're 16.5, it will be a hard stop and you'll have to route around.
Right. And then the bridge height is actually 16.7 on that. We have it in a 16.4 so that we can accommodate for the 3-inch buffer.
Okay. Thank you, Angie. Okay, we'll save that one. Okay, so for this permit, I am 119 long, which is there's a restriction I'm going to show you that will display how the system works with that. So for this one, we're coming in on I-15 at the California border down here, and we're going to I-15 on the Arizona border. So if I come through and I don't want to get off and go on the loop, I can just pull this, bring it over, and it allows me to stay on I-15 the whole way. So you'll notice right now it's showing the loop in there because I haven't rerouted since I put my via. I'm going to hit entry. I'm going to hit route. At this point, it will reroute or redo our route description. It tells you you're only on I-15 and it gives you your totals. So until you click route, you're not going to see your new updated driving directions once you change your route. Okay. So for this one also, I want to show how to use via highways. This is an option for if you know the exact highways you want to go on coming in and traveling across the state. Something to keep in mind, you have to list at least 3 highways in the box up here. So I'm going to come in on I-15. And you can put I-15 or you can just put I-15. Then you're going to separate it by a comma and a space. For this one, I'm going to go on State Route 168. And then I want to travel US 93. So when I come in, these are the roads I want to go in order. And
You
I'm
have
going
that
to click
backwards.
route. Do I have it backwards?
Yeah, you want 93, then 168.
Oh, I do. Thank you. So this is a good example of when you have it backwards, it's going to come through. It's going to go up to 93 and then down 168. So if you see it doing something like a loop like this, then you'll know something's not right. So let's fix this. US 93 and State Route 168. Mm, 1593 168. It is. I'm not liking that.
Change your destination and your origin and swap them and then put it the way you had it the first time. Yeah.
So we're going Mesquite to California.
And then
68,
193 to
93.
1. Change it to I-15 93 and then 168. Actually, no. Because we're coming in
We
from,
just looked at
yeah,
this
we
one
did it
yesterday
backwards.
and it was working.
Yeah, so do 168 and then US 93. So yeah, SR 168 and then US 93. I think that's how we did it yesterday.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay. So now you can see it's coming in on I-15, up 168 and down 93, and then around on the loop. If I don't want to take the loop, I can still add my via point in here. Oh, maybe not. No. I would have to I-15, I-15. And it takes it.
Still taking it around.
Yeah. And it's two different types of via points. So usually when you have a route that you specify, you're not trying to do both types of vias. So that's what this box is listed for, to do it this way. If you want to list out your via points, otherwise, that's clear. Let me route it. Add your via and drag. So it automatically does it by adding your blue balloon. You don't have to worry about whether or not the roads are backwards or there's one missing in between or any of that. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I don't want to clone you. We're going to edit this one. All right, again, I'm long and I do have an overhang on this one. And I'm coming from North Lamont to USA Parkway. Up here towards my destination. We're going to look at this a little bit closer. Okay, so it has me coming across up, and again, because it's 7400 USA Parkway, it wants me to do a U-turn. And I say, no, I don't want to do U-turn. I'd rather bring my route up 95 Alt. Well, then you notice it's coming down and it's doing a turnaround over here at Sparks. When you zoom in, looking at your route line, there's a red highlight here. If I want to use this route, this off ramp right here, and I try to move this, it's going to tell me like there's something blocking here. Going to get my restriction information, and it's going to say, hey, I have a length here that's 110. I'm not supposed to be over that to use this ramp. At this point, if you know you can make this turn, whatever the scenario is, you can send it in to be reviewed, but most likely because it is a restriction here, it's going to get denied on you. You'll have to either do the turnaround in Sparks or take the route that it's given you to this location. Okay, I'm going to change my route on here. Okay, we're going to go border crossing on State Route 319. So these should be in order of interstate, US highway, and then your state roads. State Road 319 will be in order. And I'm going to do an intersection. So for intersections, these are, there's a couple different examples here I'm going to show you. So we're going to go find intersection. If I know the roads that I'm going to, we'll just plug them in here. And I'm going to click find. At this point, the system's going to find every intersection that has those two road names in it. I'm going to zoom in. There's only one here. There's one balloon, so there's only one to choose from. Click on it, it'll turn to my destination. If it's an origin, it will turn into your green balloon. Once I click it, I have to click done. This is triggering the system to say this is the intersection that I want. So when you click done, it will put your street names up here, at which point you can click route. Okay, so then I can come in. Again, I can zoom in if I want to change my route to go on the city streets in Vegas. At that point, I can. I'll put one down here. And let's say I don't want to go here. I'm going to move it over to Durango. The balloons will be numbered in the order that they'll be traveled. So the system knows your origins up here. This is going to be your first via, number 2, and number 3. If I add a new via here in the middle, it will number it in consecutive order, and it renumbers everything else. Okay, so at this point, I have everything in here. I'm going to click route. And it will give me my new route with the points that I added. And then I should see as well each of the new roads that I have added a via point to and the direction of travel that I'm going. Okay, so we're going to clear this route, and I'm going to do a couple more examples of the intersection. So this button here, if you click clear, it will clear all information that's currently routed on your permit. All right, so for this one, we're just going to find an intersection. If you know the approximate location of where you're at, you can zoom in on the map. Let's do, there we go. We'll do Flamingo and South Jones. So South Jones, at that point, I'll click find. Okay, so you can see when you zoom in, there's 4 different points. Depending on the direction of where I'm going will depend on where I want to start. So if I'm going eastbound, I'm going to want to start at one of these locations, whether I'm coming north to east or if I'm going south to east. I want to choose the pin that best represents the corner that I'm starting at. So for this one, we'll choose here, click done. And again, it pulls up your areas and your roads. Okay, for this one, do the intersection again. We're going to find. I'm not going to zoom in on here because I do have an example to display. Okay, so I'm going to click find on these 2 streets. Now it's going to pull, like I said before, every intersection that is where these 2 roads cross. So if I know I'm coming over here and I'm stopping in Fallon, there's 2 intersections here. So I got to choose which one I want to go to. If I want to come over on this side, I can either go to Silver Springs. You can see here it's a roundabout, so there are several points where it connects. I want to make sure and choose the correct one. So if I'm coming westbound and I want to go up here, like end at this point here, I do not want to choose balloon 11 because then it's going to make me come up and I'm not going to get to my destination. Same thing as If I'm zoomed way out and I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to choose 1. And if you zoom in here, you can see if you're going westbound to get to point 1, you're not going to be able to do that because it's going opposite directions. So you want to be really careful when there's multiple balloons on which number you click on. For this case, we'll just choose 10. Again, I'll click done. It puts my destination balloon there. And you can see all those other balloons disappeared because they're not an option anymore because I've told the system, hey, I want to choose this balloon. At that point, I'll click route. And you can see the route has populated. Okay. I'm going to redo this and choose a different balloon just so you can see the way the route will change by choosing a balloon that's not what we intended. So anytime you click find intersection, it is going to clear the properties so you can re-enter your names. Click done and click route. So here you can see it wants to tell you to use the roundabout, go down until you can find a safe turn, and then come back. So if you notice that in your permit, on your routing application, at that point, you'd know like, oh, I need to fix this. So you'd go up and just re-find your intersection. Okay. In order to just display what will happen, that's not a, if there is a route that you absolutely are not allowed to travel on, you will get this red dotted line like this. So this is saying that this road right here, you can't travel. It's a route failure. This restriction is blocking this route. At this point, I can zoom in and see what the restriction is. And here it is a no permit. So when there is a no permits restriction, that is a hard stop. It means you are not allowed to route on it. And that's the same, not just with a via, but also with a starting or stopping point on that no permits. You'll get that red dotted line, and that means that is a no-go route. We'll just keep this one. Okay, for this next permit, this is for split trips. So if you have multiple stops within your permit, I will display on how you can get them all to show and what it looks like on the map and how to adjust them. Okay, so for this one, we're starting at I-15 and G on the California border, and we're going to 3300 St. Rose Parkway. I know this is the first leg of my trip, so that's why I chose this first. You can see I have point A to point B, routing as normal. Now I want to add additional stops in here because this is not my final stop. It's just the first leg of it. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a split trip. I'm starting at an address. It's going to be the same location that I stopped at previously. So I'll just copy and paste that information in there. Okay. Next address, put in here. And then I already know where I'm going for my third leg. Okay, so we'll go ahead and add my address here and a border crossing here. Okay, again, where I stop at this point is where I'm going to pick up on my next point. And I'm going to go to I-15 in Arizona. So at this point, I have all three legs. We call them legs, refer to them as legs on this side. I have all three legs of my trip. I'm going to click route. As far as the splits, at this point, there is not a limit on split trips. However, you cannot leave the state. Once you leave the state, that permit is finalized and you will have to get a new permit to come to enter back in.
Also, one more thing on the split trips is you have to be hauling the exact same piece of equipment. So you can't offload a dozer and then pick up an excavator and continue on. You have to, if you're hauling a dozer, you have to be hauling that dozer with the exact same dimensions the entire time. Tires, trusses, you can haul those. Sometimes there's stops where you're dropping off a couple and then you're continuing on. As long as your dimensions and what you're hauling doesn't change, you can do the split trips, and as long as it's within the state of Nevada and you don't exit and then come back in.
Okay. So for this one, I can tell, okay, I'd rather go interstate. So I'm going to zoom in here. And I'm going to grab, let's see, how do I, it looks like I have restrictions here on I-15, so we'll try. So I'll put my via point here, drag it up, and it will let me do it. However, you need to be careful on which leg of the split that you are doing this via. When you add a point on the map, it will enter it to the associated leg under your trip entry options. So for here, it's on split 2. But let's say I zoomed in, I wanted to drag this up here. It's going to drag it up and back down and around. I did not do that one on the right line. Here we go. So you can see it's doing a weird turnaround and it's going all up out of the way. That's because it's on the first split right here. And your first split was a simple drive in on system road. So if you know it's the wrong split, just double click it. It will put it back on the right route. And then at that point, you can change your next leg or whichever leg you want. Same with here. I'm going to move this one up so I can go around and not stay on the interstate. And then I know I'm good. Again, I can check here like considered split 2 because we have our original. Then split 1 and split 2, which would be the third leg, has the via point added in there, so I know it's in the right location. And keep my route just so I can continue moving forward. At this point, I'll pull up come on. A permit if you guys have some specific locations you'd like to look at or specific entry types to look at, you can let me know. We can now open it up for questions as well, and I can display different areas or options that are available. Okay, so do we have any questions? If anybody's talking, you are muted, so you'll have to unmute. Okay, is there anything that I could do more in depth while we're on this call?
Hey Carrie, there's a question in the chat from Erica and Darcy
Right here,
asking about overweight.
We don't have the bridge weights in the system yet. So eventually we will get those in the system, and then yes, that will be a part of the route evaluation, is any bridge and culvert restrictions. Currently we don't have those in the system, so it's not going to look at that.
Okay, that was a good question, though. Do we have any others or any locations that people have issues with? Use multiple users on one account.
Yeah, there is that option. There has been since this went live. So you can only register the DOT number once, but there should be an admin on your account and they can add multiple users. We have permit services, they have multiple users. Companies can have as many users as they want. So your admin can either add multiple people, or you can call in the office and we can get people added onto your account as well, because everybody should have their own login. We shouldn't be sharing logins due to safety purposes. And also then people tend to get themselves locked out of their accounts and have to call all the time to get their stuff reset because they have multiple people using their accounts.
Okay. Any other questions, locations, more intersections, or anything I can do to help display areas that might be trouble areas and some permits?
And if y'all haven't been keeping up with the chat, somebody had asked earlier if there's going to be access to a video replay later. We will post the training sessions on the login page in the helpful links section. So as soon as the video is uploaded, we can get with our developers and everything to add that to the login page. That will be there. Hopefully sometime later this week or early next week we can have that on there. But yeah, that will be able to view at any time. So in case you missed the training or miss part of it, you can always go back and view those trainings.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're here for. So if you have questions, concerns, anything, yeah, absolutely give our office a call. We're happy to help walk you through, if it's a routing issue or if it's any other issue with ordering a permit, we're here to help you out.
Yeah, and to also go off what Angie said, the permit office is always there, and our team, our GIS team, we're here at ProMiles. We can always help as well if you have any issues with routing or anything with the permit at all. Reach out to the permit office, and then they can reach out to us as well.
The meeting on Thursday is the same topic. We just wanted to give multiple times in case mornings didn't work out so well, to go over the routing. We just want to make sure that everybody has all the tools and has a better understanding of how to use the routing page. Yeah, we do cover all the local streets in the state of Nevada, so you don't have to get city or county permits. We do the entire state. So city streets, interstates, state routes, highways, we permit for all of it. That's why when she was showing the example of the via points on the city streets, you're able to route on those city streets because we do permit for them. And I just want to reiterate again that the route that it produces, so like on this route right here, we do have it going 215 around. And that's just to keep everybody out of the heart of Las Vegas, where downtown is, where all the traffic backs up and gets congested. If you want to go I-15, unless there's a height restriction that prevents it, you are more than welcome to create that via point and use I-15 straight if you don't want to use the 215. We just have it currently routing the 215 to kind of avoid all the backup of traffic that happens on that I-15 area. But all the routes that are given are suggested routes. You are more than welcome to edit them as long as there isn't any restrictions, but the system shouldn't allow you to route through a restriction.
Something else to keep take into consideration is dirt roads are not routed on. So if there is a road and the system will only allow you to go so far off of that road, it's because it's not in the system due to it most likely being a dirt road.
The question on power lines, no, we do not have those built into the system. I know that City of Henderson has asked that they're contacted for anything over 16 foot tall, just because they have some low stoplights in that area. So that is something that does get put on the permit. In the instruction portion of the permit is it gives you 2 contacts when you're over 16 tall to go ahead and contact so that they can look at your route, see if they want to escort you. My understanding is the City of Henderson does not charge unless you move on a Friday because they're usually off on Fridays. The electrical and power lines is not something that if we do put it in the system, it will be a while before that gets put into the system.
Let's see, checking my dimensions. So I'm only 14.2. I'm going to go ahead and make myself tall so you can see how that restriction condition displays. Again, it's going to tell me that I changed my dimensions, so I need to reroute. Okay, so right here, it will tell you that you give you the number you need to call for anything over 16 tall. We also have a restriction here for I-15. It's a hourly restriction, so this is informational text that will appear on your permit as well. Are there any other questions?
I just wanted to state also, just be patient when you're adding your via points to try to get specific routes, because the system does try to push you back onto interstate as quickly as possible, instead of being on the city streets. And I know this is kind of a big one for the Las Vegas area, when you're over certain, feet tall. City streets are the most ideal situation. So just sometimes you got to create a lot of via points in order to get that route right where you want it. It will go where you want it to, but sometimes it just takes creating, 10 via points in order to get it to where you want it, just because the system's going to want to get you back on system as quickly as possible instead of off system, which is all the city streets.
Now, having a latitude, longitude as a trip entry, if there is a address at that location, the address is preferred, or the intersection over a latitude, longitude.
Yeah, the only time that we will usually accept lat and long for a destination or origin is if it's out in the middle of nowhere, or if it's like a new housing development and the streets aren't in Google yet, then we'll accept it also.
One way to tell is if there is a business pin, this gray pin with the business name. Some of them will have an address here. This one has 2555 Waltham Way. That address will work. This location here does not have that business pin, so this address will not work.
So the only, like I said, the only time that we'll take the lat and long is if there isn't an address or an intersection there. If there's truly an address or an intersection, Highway Patrol would prefer to see the address that you're going to versus a lat and long, to where that doesn't really tell them where you're at. So in order to make it a little bit user friendly for Highway Patrol to be able to read the permit to know where you're going or where you're starting, where you're going, having more exact information is always better. So that's why we discourage using the lat and longs, because it just really doesn't tell them exactly where you are without them having to try to look on a map. If they look at your permit and there's an address listed, then they know where that's at.
All I'm doing now is displaying how you can add multiple via points. In order to get the exact roads that you want. Sometimes they'll go kind of weird, and then you'll just have to adjust it. Being zoomed in really helps, so you can be on the right road. Because even if you're over a little bit, the system's going to try its best to hit where that via point's at. Right.
Before
Any
we
other
wrap up,
questions?
yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, we will have a another training session on, I believe it's Thursday. Let's see, Felipe said, may you
At
share
2
that?
o'clock. Thursday
Yeah.
at 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
Let me get back to Henderson, and I can display that text. I think I changed my height though, so I might have to change it back. Yeah. Height did not like that. It's going all over the place. All right, here is the text for the Henderson. over 16 foot tall.
Grab a screenshot of that and I'll put it in the chat as well.
And of course, if you're just having a really hard time getting the routing or struggling trying to get things going, you can always reach out as well. I don't mind doing one-on-one training as well. I think if you maybe come in here and do some mock permits and just kind of play around with each of the entries and just kind of test the system a little bit yourself, you get comfortable with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're more than welcome to, start a permit, get to the route page, and then play around with the map and routing and everything, and you can delete it. It's not sent over to the permit office or anything. So, good practice. And of course, we're always available. As extra resources here at ProMiles, our GIS team, PM, project management, and then the permit office as well. So we're here for you if you have any questions, need extra help, training, or anything. Like I had mentioned before, we'll have this training session and then Thursday's training session at 2 p.m. Pacific. Those will both be on the login page for you to view at any time. Okay, any last questions before we wrap up? All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your day, look over this training with us. Like I said, we're always here to help out. Reach out to us here at ProMiles or Angie, and we'll help you with your permits. Y'all take care and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great
Thanks, Elle.
day.